Thanks for joining. In this lesson we will practice with comparisons in JavaScript and we will see how it works. If you have any questions or need clarification along the way, feel free to comment below. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more exciting lessons like this. Let's jump right in and start learning. You should remember Boolean values true and false from previous lessons, so comparison operators are closely connected with Boolean values. The comparison operators in JavaScript return Boolean values which are true or false based on the comparison being performed. The comparison operators in JavaScript work similarly to mathematical comparison operators. They evaluate expressions and produce a Boolean result indicating whether the comparison is true or false. And this lesson will be even more interesting than you can imagine because comparison involves coercion, also known as implicit conversion, which we recently discussed. For example, when you compare two numbers using the greater than operator, the comparison expression provides true if the number on the left side is indeed greater than the number on the right. Otherwise, it evaluates to false, and as you remember from previous lessons, in order to check the return value type, you can use the type of operator. And as you can see, it says that the comparison is false and the value is Boolean. As I mentioned earlier, all operators provide true or false based on the comparison result. And speaking of greater or equal and less or equal, you need to remember that the comparison sign is always on the left and the equal sign is always on the right. If you change the order, then you will get an error function, resulting in error. Also, don't forget about non-equal sign representation difference between JavaScript and math. Next, you need to know that if you want to use the result of comparison, you can store it in a variable. First, before we start the operators, I want to mention that JavaScript algorithm is trying to reduce everything to a number before it tries to compare. So it will be trying to implement coercion to a number, which we discussed earlier. Next to mention, there are two types of equality comparisons: a loose equality, which is double equals, and strict equality, which is triple equal. The loose equality will be trying to implicitly coerce everything it encounters to a number, and strict equality will be comparing types, so will be no coercion. And don't worry, all will be clear in few minutes. Now let's see specific examples. With numbers all is clear. 2 is more than 1, 0 is less than 1, 5 is more or equal to 5 will be true, and 4 is not equal to 4 is false, and so on. As always, the biggest number wins. Now back to programming logic. As a reminder, in these examples you will encounter nonsensical scenarios. Don't worry, it's not a reflection of your incomplete comprehension. These examples were intentionally designed by developers, so feel free to explore and gain familiarity with these concepts through practice. And the very first line checks if an empty string is equal to 0. Since JavaScript's loose equality comparison converts an empty string to a numeric 0, the output will be true. Next, we compare if the hexadecimal number, which is the representation of 333, is not equal to 333 number, and we get false, because actually on both sides we have 333 number. With the next example, we check if the null value is greater than 0. In JavaScript, null is not greater than any number, so the output will be false. Next thing will give us an answer if the null is equal to 0. In JavaScript, null is only equal to null or undefined, so the output will be false. Next, if the null value is greater than or equal to 0. Similar to the previous case, null is not greater than or equal to any number, but be careful since the answer is true. Next, if null is equal to undefined using loose equality. When comparing null and undefined using loose equality operator, they are considered equal due to a specific rule of the language. Null and undefined evaluates to true in JavaScript. This behavior is defined in ECMAScript specification, which states that the null and undefined are only equal to themselves using the double equal operator. However, it's important to note that while null and undefined are considered equal with loose equality, they are not identical in terms of type and strict equality, and we will discuss it later. Now we check if 0 is equal to undefined, and the answer is false. In JavaScript's loose equality comparison, when comparing a number with undefined, the output will be false. Then we have not a number is not equal to not a number, and it will be true. Not a number is not equal to itself or any other value, so the output will be true. Now let's practice with strings. So we are comparing a small a with capital A. Strings comparison in JavaScript is based on the Unicode value of each character. Let's open Wikipedia and see both characters. As you can see, the A symbol has the decimal value of 97, while the capital A is 65. Again, we compare here reference numbers of the characters and not strings. Or to express it correctly, comparison is done on numbers which are assigned to string characters. Since the Unicode value of the small a is greater than and the capital A, the output will be true. The same comparison method will be implemented if you compare Z and capital A, so will be compared only Unicode numbers of these two letters, and the output is true. Then let's see strings comparison. We have ABCD is greater than ABCE, and the answer is false because the letter D number in the Unicode table is less than E number, so the output of the comparison is false. Next, we compare minus infinity is less than infinity, and the answer is true, and infinity we discussed in previous lessons. Next, minus 0 is greater or equal to 0, and we get true. 549 is less than or equal 5490, and it will be true. Next example will be 3 plus 2 is more than 4. If you see a collection of operators, then you should remember about precedence. So precedence here will start from plus. So 3 plus 2 will be evaluated first, resulting in 5. Then 5 we compare to 4, so 5 is more than 4, which is true. Next line, string 1 is compared to the number 1. Here we have a coercion, so string 1 will be converted or coerced implicitly to a number 1, and then we compare 1 to 1 and we get true. Next comparison, if a number 1 is more or greater than the string 1, and again it will be true because the string 1 will be coerced implicitly to a number 1, so we compare 1 to 1 or number to number. The line which compares 001 string with the number 1 will give us true. JavaScript's loose equality comparison converts the string to a number, resulting in 1, so all zeros before the 1 in the string will be removed, and again we will get 1 compared to 1. So both will be numbers and we get true. Now let's compare false and 0. In JavaScript loose equality comparison, Boolean false is converted to number 0, and the string 0 is also converted to number 0. Therefore, 0 is equal to 0, and the output will be true. Next line, if false Boolean value is equal to the false string, and we get false because JavaScript loose equality comparison does not convert the string false to a Boolean. Since false and false are of different values, they are considered unequal and the output will be false. And one more example with the unary plus operator. The unary plus operator, as we discussed in the previous lessons, will convert an empty string to a number, which results in 0. The comparison 0 and 0 is evaluated, and since both sides are equal, the output will be true. Now, floating points. Floating numbers in JavaScript are not exactly the representation of the number what you see on your screen. JavaScript uses IEEE 7.5 standard to represent floating point numbers, which stores them as the binary fractions. However, not all decimal fractions can be precisely represented in binary form. As a result, there can be small counting errors or imprecisions when performing arithmetic operations with floating point numbers. So if we use our standard logic and we add 01 to 02, then we should get 03. And if we compare 03 to 03, the answer should be true. But let's see what is actually happening with floats. As you can see, all floating numbers in the examples have imprecision. 01 has additional random numbers in the end. 02 also not quite precise. Moreover, 03 is not 03 but 2, 999 and so on. So that's why we get false if we add 01 to 02 and then we compare the result of 03. And the answer is simple. The floating points number is not exact because of limitations. And now let's talk about strict equality or triple equal operator. This operator compares its two operands and returns a Boolean result indicating whether they are equal. Unlike the loose equality operator, the strict equality operator treats operands of different types as different values. I will explain. Let's consider the example with the number 1 represented as a string and the real number 1. With the loose equality operator, which is double equal, JavaScript attempts to coerce the string into the number to make the operands comparable. In the case of one string is equal to one number with loose equality, the string 1 is successfully coerced into number 1. This results in the comparison of one-to-one numbers with numbers on both sides. Since both operands are now of the same value, the result is true. However, when you use the strict equality operator or triple equal, no coercion is performed. The comparison is done directly between the string and the number, and since string and number are different types, the result is false. And to get through with the string compared to a number, we need to use the number function from previous lesson to explicitly convert the string to a number, and only then we get through. Now let's see what will happen with null and undefined. With the loose equality, it will be coerced behind the scenes, and with strict equality will be no coercion, so types are compared as is. So when to use loose equality or strict equality? You can use loose equality when you know your types. If you're unsure what kind of type will arrive and you don't need your code bugged, then you need to use strict equality or triple equal. But here I would like to mention that if you don't know what kind of type should arrive, then you don't know your code. So get familiar with your types. Also, you can use the loose equality when your types don't match. Then it's unnecessary to use strict equality. And few more recommendations. It is generally recommended to use the strict equality operator over a loose equality operator when comparing a null and undefined in JavaScript, because it requires both operands to have the same value and be of the same type. This means that the null must be strictly compared to undefined, and then it will evaluate to false since they are different types. Also, with strict equality will be no coercion, and also it will be clarity and readability, because using the strict equality operands provides more clear and more explicit code. And in case your code requires to use the loose equality operator with null and undefined, then you need to verify separately if your values are null or undefined. And as always, lesson assignments. At the conclusion of each lesson, I highly encourage you to complete the assignments, as they will greatly contribute to your progress in JavaScript. By consistently practicing, you will see faster results in your learning journey. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or need further assistance, feel free to comment below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more exciting coding content. Stay updated with the latest video by ringing the notification bell. Happy coding!